It's being sold in the US as a Sprint exclusive. It's also available on their MVNOs like Boost Mobile and Virgin Mobile for $150 off contract. So it's being sold as a prepaid phone. So obviously the big standout feature here is that edgeless display. So you can see there's virtually no bezel surrounding part of the phone, but of course there is a fairly large chin bezel housing some of the sensors, the front-facing camera. Now in order to achieve this unique design, they've eliminated the earpiece and replaced it with a direct wave receiver. Now that means it vibrates the glass panel to act as your speaker, so when you place it next to your ear, it sounds like a regular speaker. So it's very interesting technology. Now in terms of specs, this is a fairly low-end phone. This has got a Snapdragon 400 clocked at 1.2 gigahertz. We have 1.5 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs of internal storage standard with a 120 gig SD card slot for expansion. We also have an 8 megapixel camera on the back, good for 1080p HD video at 30 frames per second, and a 1.2 megapixel camera on the front. And of course, we're going to demonstrate those in this video. Alright, so let's get into this unboxing. Now, of course, this is a prepaid phone with that traditional prepaid packaging. So I have a little tab up here to pull. So now we can just slide it right out. Alright, so we get this little blister pack here, and we have our paperwork. So we have a quick start guide, obviously produced by Sprint. So we're going to go through a lot of the features in this video, some important regulatory information. Alright, so you can see some of the accessories in the back here, which includes a USB cable, a recycling bag for your old phone, and looks like some more paperwork. So let's go and crack into this right here. Alright, so there is the phone, and you can see I have the black version here, which is, I believe, unique to the Sprint carrier. So there we go. Very nice looking phone. I'm really impressed right away. Very compact for a 5-inch phone. So let's set that aside for just a moment. Get these contents out of the way. So as you can see here, we have a universal wall adapter with a USB port on one side, along with our micro USB charging cable. Pretty basic stuff. And then we have some paperwork explaining how to remove the back panel and that sort of thing. And then we have our recycling bag for recycling our old phone if we want. Alright, so there is our phone with a piece of plastic covering it. So we're going to take this off. There we go. That really nice edge-to-edge glass display. Very unique. Definitely unlike any phone I've handled before. Alright, so let's get this started. Just going to tap and hold the power button at the top here so we can start taking a look around. So there we go. Let's take a close look at the hardware design. And as you can see, the big story here is that edgeless display. Very unique. Certainly unusual to handle if you're used to smartphones. You've never handled anything quite like this before. Now, the crystal gets its name for the way the cover glass is cut and beveled at the edges, and that merges perfectly with the metal frame of the phone. Very nice looking design, very high quality. Now, it feels really nice in the hand because you have that seamless design. It just looks very unusual, and I like the way it kind of reflects the display. It's actually kind of similar to the Moto 360, which also has a beveled edge around the glass panel. Now, instead of at the top, at the bottom, you'll find the front-facing 1.2 megapixel camera. So it's kind of an unusual position, so we're going to have to explore how this works. And then we have our ambient light sensor, our proximity sensor, and an LED notification light. Now, at the bottom of the phone, you'll find a micro USB charging port as well as a microphone, which is your mouthpiece. Now on the right side, not much going on here, but on the left side, you'll find your volume rocker, which is a little too flush, a little more recessed than I'd like to see. It doesn't feel quite as tactile. That's also true at the top of the phone. We will find the power sleep wake button, which again is a little too recessed, not as tactile as I'd like to see. And then we have our 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So on the back, we have a dimpled matte plastic removable back panel, which is black on Sprint, white on Boost Mobile, and I believe Virgin as well. All right, so let's go ahead and peel off this back panel here, which is pretty basic. It's just a simple piece of thin plastic that's rigid once attached. There's no NFC or anything that's built into that back cover. Now you can see we have our sealed in 2040 milliamp hour battery, so you can't replace that. Now this phone uses a nano SIM, and then we have a micro SD card slot, which again supports 128 gig cards. Now down here below, you'll see our loudspeaker, which is sealed up behind that back panel. All right, so let's go ahead and seal up this back panel, and you really have to make sure it's sealed up. There's a lot of snaps here. All right, so let's take a close look at the interface. Again, this is Android 4.4.2. You can swipe to the right here on the lock screen to activate the camera. Of course, we're going to take a close look at the camera app in detail. You can swipe down to get to your notification panel with your expandable notifications. You can tap up here to see all your quick settings and jump to your settings panel here, which has a few modifications we're going to take a look at in just a moment. You can also use a two-finger gesture to get to your quick settings. Again, they're pretty basic here. You can toggle on your brightness. We do have auto mode in here as well. Now, in terms of the app selection, you can see it's pretty much stock Android with Google Apps as well as a few third-party apps. So you'll see a Sprint app for voicemail, the voice dialer. You also see this voice assistant, which is an alternative to Google Now. Now to get to Google Now, you just swipe up from the home button or any of these buttons, takes you right there. And of course you can say, okay Google, what's the weather like tomorrow in Rochester Hills?
Aquos forecast for Rochester Hills is 66 degrees with a chance of showers.
Now, of course, you can folder items just by dragging and dropping over each other. Again, pretty stock stuff. You can also tap and hold anywhere on the home screen to edit your wallpapers. We also have our recent apps, and as you can see here, pretty familiar stuff. Very little is different from stock Android. Now, there are a few unique features here to the Sharp, so we can go under settings to find some of them, which includes Harman Kardon audio. So basically, this is a way of improving audio thanks to the processing of Clarify audio. Clarify will improve the performance of compressed audio over Bluetooth audio or headphones, not over the speaker. We also have the Clarify Visualizer, which pops up anytime you're playing audio. So we're going to take a look at that in just a moment. We also have Live Stage. This, again, is another way of improving audio depending on the way you're listening to it, so either headphones or Bluetooth.